And 2, helps if I plug the microphone in. G'day everyone. Going to wait for everyone to pop in. This is unscheduled, but I just thought I'd have an afternoon chat with you guys before we have dinner. So I'm going to wait. I've just put a message in the photography and videography school just to make sure that people know I'm live. G'day Dion, how are you, mate? Not much, just been out shopping, actually doing some wedding editing. Trying to catch up with that. I went to the Sony store at High Point. Had a chat with those guys for a while just to see what they had in stock. I was curious to see if they had any A7 IIIs in stock. They had nothing there at all. They said they're so hard to get. The second they come in, they go out. So I just thought I'd have a chat. It's great having that store there. I was asking them how long they're going to be open, and hopefully they said definitely until January, but they're hoping they're actually there a lot longer. G'day, Michael. How are you? Good to see you in here. Peter's here as well. Linda is also here. Altric's here as well. TC Productions. I like popping in late because I obviously get different people. I will still be on live on Friday for my normal live show around about 12 or 1 o'clock Australian time. But I thought I'd pop in for a different time zone on the Wednesday. Yeah, it's a good store, Dion. It's actually a great store there. They've got stacks of gear. They also hire stuff out, so that was interesting for me. Might be an option that I can actually go there and hire sometimes some of the lenses so I can do some reviews. So I might do that. I didn't realise they actually did that. G'day, Peter. How are you? Yes, it's unscheduled. So, guys, if you can, as you log on, can you please give me a thumbs up? It just lets people know. I know Ben contacted me today to say that they weren't getting the bell alarm for when I'm coming on live. I don't know why. It's something YouTube's doing. They're not letting people know that I'm actually on for some reason, and others have told me the same thing, that they're not getting notifications. Even though you've clicked on that bell, there's no notifications there, which is really annoying. Burgess is also saying hi. So let's see who we've got in here. So I'll come back and then we can start just having a chat. There's nothing scheduled today. It's basically just a Q&A. You guys can ask anything away you want. We'll just see what people have in store to say. So we've got Dion, Altric, Linda's here, Peter's here as well. Michael's here, TC Productions, Jason's here, JD is here as well. Peter's here from Los Angeles. Ron. Have you tried the Capture One for editing? No, I bought it, Ron, because the Capture One, they got rid of that pricing. I know, and it went up an awful lot, so I'm glad I actually bought it. But I haven't even used it yet. I just wanted to take advantage of that pricing, the lower pricing that they had. Plus, Sony Alpha Room has also had a 10% off as well, so I got a really good deal on it. Now it's gone to about $300 or $400 Australian. It's really jumped up. So I haven't used it. I'm probably intending to use it for tethering. So I've got to go out and buy some tethering equipment because I intend to probably do some studio shoots with it and tether, and then I can show you some live studio shoots. So that's why I actually got it. What else have we got? Peter's just saying hi for the unscheduled. Yeah, Mark's here as well. Sir Mike's here as well. Say my name, please. Sir Mike Chanel, I think it's pronounced. So there you go. I did, Mike. Jason, found them in stock at Adorama. Just took 3 days, but that was a month ago. Wow. Burgess is saying hi. I just did say your name. Dion says, oh, the hire sounds interesting. Yeah, they have a lot of lenses for hire. But I might also have to meet up with you or something, Dion, and try that 100 out that you've got. I know you've got that 100, so I might have to see if we can do a shoot together and I can do a review on it. TC Productions is from South Africa. Peter's also gave a thumbs up. Thanks for that, Peter. Yeah, please give me a thumbs up, guys, because it does make a difference of people knowing I'm online. Gerald's here as well. David Griffin, hi, my first time on one of your live videos. Good to see you in here then, David. Gerald's saying hi. Shorva Creation said, love your videos. David, thank you so much for that. William just said, hi, just ordered the Sony A7 III. Do they say how long it'll be, William, before you get it? Dion said, Brian Smith just posted about the Mikoton Zhiyongi Speedmaster 35 0.95 Mark II lens. Yeah, I'd love to try one of those, actually. I did have the 0.95 for the Panasonic I had, which was the 10.5, and that was a 0.95, and it was beautiful. Tox Vision says hi. Fathom Rocker says hiya, David. Berger said, David, next time, please dress Cara warm. Yeah, but she did have that jacket on. The funny thing was, and this is the interesting thing, so you've got to forgive me for that shoot with Kiara. I tried to cancel that day because the day before was really warm and we couldn't organise the shoot on that day. So I actually said to Kiara, let's not do it on that day because it's going to be cold. And she was so desperate to have a shoot that she said, no, David, I want to do it. It's going to be 16 degrees, but we'll do it anyway. So she begged me to do it, and so I did. So the next shoot, I think I'm going to do a studio shoot with Kiara, but it's obviously warming up here now. It's a bit cool today, though, but on the weekend it does warm right up again, and I think then it starts to warm up every day. I mean, the other day it was 27, not today, yesterday it was 27 degrees Celsius, so it is starting to warm up. But she did have a jacket on in between shoots, and we're only out there for, 10 minutes. Doing that, but yeah, she was cold. I'm there with a beanie on and a jacket and everything else, but it was her choice to do it. I actually wanted to cancel it, and she actually said no because it had been a while since we'd organised a shoot. She's so much fun though to work with. We just have a ball though. Linda said, haha, late David, here it's like 7:39 a.m. in the morning. Just had some morning coffee. I'm drinking coffee too, actually. Check out my mug. I cracked a stubby on the other day, and it was quite funny because YouTube blocked my video from being monetized. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to have crack a stubby with you, but you're going to actually see it in a cup. Because the second they see a beer, they won't let you monetize it. That's the first time that's happened. I thought, rats. Sizzleman said, hey, from California. Dion said, good for night portraits. Yeah, that's what I'd like to try, Dion. So perhaps we can organise a shoot together. G'day, Fadamiak. How are you? Don't you guys ever sleep? Quibili says, hi, David. Stephen says, hello, David. Oh, God, I can't even pronounce that. Tholo name is something. Best overall camera, A7R2 or the A7 III? The A7 III is the best overall camera out there, I think, at this stage. Look, it doesn't have the resolution of the A7R, but it's got better focusing. It's got better video. I just think it's a better all-around camera for what I use. Now, others who love resolution, if you're a landscape shooter, if you're doing just portraits in studio and you need resolution, the A7R III is better. Apart from that, I think the A7 III is the best overall, all-around fusion camera that's out there. Unless you need the resolution, then you need the A7R, obviously. Berger said, still wonderful shooting. Kiara is really sweet and beautiful girl. Yeah, she is. She's a great girl. And you know what, I just let her go and she just goes stupid, as you saw in that last video that I did with her. And she just cracks me up. It was going on for the whole day. You should see some of the videos that I was posting. She started to get online to do videos, and I'll show you because you'll get a laugh out of it. She grabs my phone and... is it in focus? I think so. I don't think it is. Focus. Oh. She grabs my phone and she starts to do all of these things which I'll show you. She's a shocker. So she grabs my selfie and then she starts to do all of this. Now let me just see if I can... So she's just completely taking over my phone and she's doing all these things like, you know, I mean, you... This is typical of what she's like. So she's doing all of this stuff basically on my phone, you know, doesn't ask, but just starts doing it. So she's an absolute nutter. She really is crazy. And the thing is too, I've been posting some of those results. If you go to my Instagram page, you'll see that I've been posting some results that we did from that just straight off the iPhone. So all the ones that I've been putting on Instagram are straight from the iPhone. That's pretty amazing. And I didn't even use that camera in portrait mode. I'm going to do another shoot with her and try and do portrait mode so I can test that. But yeah, it's really, really interesting how good that the iPhone is for that. Look, it still doesn't get anywhere near the A7 III, but it was an interesting test to do. I'm just making sure I'm in focus because I'm using the A7 III, the A6 300 this time. So it'll be interesting to see if it keeps focus. What else have we got? Oops. JP said, greetings from San Diego, almost 11 p.m. Coming to Vegas, WPPI. I do want to come to Vegas to WPPI. We are going to travel next year. We're just not sure where yet. But that could be a good one to come to. Thanks, Photomiak. Love your channel. Yeah, Photomiak's got a great channel. Altrix said, just got off work. Michael said, Miak, go to bed. Oh, I love it. Photomiak said, just got done doing a, is that studio shoot? It's Strugio shoot with the Z7. Have you just borrowed that, Ike? Is that what you've done? Jason said, I sold 2 A7 IIIs and switched to the A9 and the A7 III. It's way better for event photography. Yeah, the A9 is still my favourite camera. Well, I think it is in focus. It just looks like it's not there. The A9 is still my favourite Sony camera that I've got. I was talking to the Sony guys today about that, and I was still saying that that's by far my favourite camera. It's just incredible how much that's come down. I've really got a feeling that Sony's going to announce a camera soon, and I did talk to them about that. They didn't tell me anything, but it was interesting because every camera there was on special. The A9 was around about $1,600 or something like that off. It was a massive drop in price. It was just over $4,000 Australian, I think, and I paid $7,000 for that 12 months ago. I'm not angry at that. I've used it and it's a business, so that doesn't bother me at all, but that's still by far my favourite camera. The A7 III was about $700 cheaper or something like that, so there's some really good specials at the moment, and I think they're trying to move stock. Obviously the A7 III is not on special, but everything else was, so I think a new camera is imminent. So I don't blame you selling your R3s and going to the A9 and the A7 III. It is that they are the best two event cameras out there. I agree with you. Mark said, should have a meet where we can do a workshop and bring specialised equipment. Yeah, I will do another meet in Melbourne. I do want to do some workshops with Kiara over Christmas when it gets warm. So I'd love to do a night one and stuff like that with flash and continuous lights and things like that. So I am going to do one with Kiara over Christmas. I haven't advertised it yet, but that's going to happen. And I will do another free meet and greet and walk around Melbourne again when I get to 20,000 subscribers. So I've got another 5,000 to go. So when I get to the 20,000, I'll do another free meet and we'll greet and go out for dinner and everything like we did last time. So I'll put details about that when I get closer to the 20,000. Hopefully it'll be just after Christmas sometime. Michael said, oh yeah, drop it. He's talking to Photomiak. JQL Photography said, hi, David from South Africa. When do you think the Sony will release the A7S II? Let me just change my glasses because it's easier to read with the other ones on. When do you think the Sony will release the A7S III? Well, look, there's no way they're going to release that, I don't think, this year. I think it may be announced later on this year, but I think we'll be lucky to see it any time this year. Remember, I did say to you that EVF is not going to be announced or in production until November. And then if it's only in production then, they've still got to get it out to people. So I've got a feeling it may be announced later this year and we'll probably be able to get it early next year. That's my feeling. I think the next camera we're going to get is the A7000 or the A9000, whatever they want to call it. There was rumours about that today on Sony Alpha Rumours, so that, that's still a possibility. I did notice today that, let me just go into Sony Alpha Rumours, and I'll show you. Because they were talking about that this morning. So let me just see if I can find it. See, everywhere too is offering, the interesting thing too is, let me just move this around. Everywhere is giving money off all the older cameras at the moment. So obviously this is in the US, but they're giving money off their cameras as well, $200 off. the A7S II and the A7R2, but you'll find that everything else too is cheaper. But they're saying here that it's an SR4, so it's not an SR5, it's getting close. They're still saying it's going to be the Mini A9, obviously. And they're also saying it'll be a 135 GM that's going to be announced as well. But they're staying down here that it's still unknown, a completely new design. EVF is located in the optical axis, the same as the A7, so it's basically going to be an A7 series body by the look of it. Blackout free, 20 frames per second, and improved ergonomics. This is the direct competitor to the Fuji X-T3, so they have to do that. And I think it looks the way it's going like it is going to have that A7 body, which some people aren't going to be happy about. But remember, you can still always buy the A6 500, the A6 300, and the A6 as well, the A6000 as well. But they probably have to do this for the new technology to fit and not overheat. And obviously, if you're going to get 4K 60p, which is not mentioned down here, but I'm sure this camera is going to have it. If you're going to give us that 4K 60p, it's going to have to probably be in a bigger body, because I don't think the A6 500 body size will be able to cope with that type of heat. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. They're also saying down here that another source has said that the 135 GM will be on the market by 2019. So I don't know if the lens will be announced now at Photo Plus or sometime in early 2019. And they just said down here, no reliable confirmation confirming the new high-end PC camera, APS-C camera, will be announced at Photo Plus. So we still don't know yet. There was still rumours that there's going to be an announcement on the 16th. We're still waiting to hear, but yeah, it's really a little bit frustrating because we just don't know at this stage. But I do have a definite feeling that we're not going to see the A7S III this year, guys. And that's the problem if you're waiting for that. So if you are, you're going to be waiting quite a while, I believe. I do think there is a definite option that we will get an A7000 or the A9000. That has to be out soon because they have to answer what the X-T3 has given people. So, you know, we just have to wait and see. So let me keep going down. So I hope that answers your question, JLQ Photography. Linda said, is the Sony Zeiss 35 1.4 worth of money? Oh, yes, it is, Linda. That's my favourite lens. I adore that lens. If you love 35, it's fantastic. You've still got the 24 as an option, but it's a little bit wide for portraits, and that's the problem with that. It's lovely and light though, and if you wanted to put the 24 on a gimbal, it will work amazing. For me, I love the 35 focal length and the 85. 35 is a really nice focal length for portraits as well, and the 1.4 is just beautiful. Plus, you know, you have that, oh, it's on the other camera. Plus, you have that great benefit of the declicked aperture ring, which is beautiful as well. So yes, I do think it's worth the money, and I use that all the time extensively, and I adore it. So yes, I'd say it's definitely worth the money. Linda says, or is the Sigma 35R one almost as sharp? Well, it is a great lens, but remember, if you're dealing with tracking and continuous autofocus of moving objects, the Sigmas will never work as well. And they never work as well if you're dealing with video autofocus, if you're dealing with continuous like tracking. So I think the Zeiss for me is worth it for that alone. Ron says, that's too funny. She must love to get her pics taken. I don't know if it's that. She's just a funny character, and you know, she's just sitting in there doing all stuff and carrying on, and she's a beautiful girl. She really is a beautiful girl. What else have we got? Michael said A9 is number one. I agree, Michael. That's my favourite camera. I love that camera. iTech said, is Sony ever going to launch the A7000? I heard next release going to be compact digital cameras. Yeah, apparently they're releasing 2 compacts. I'm hoping that doesn't hold up. I don't think it will. I still think they have to answer the Fuji X-T3. At the moment, the X-T3 is the better APS-C camera. It definitely beats the A6 500. So Sony have to answer that one. They don't have to really answer anything in the full frame market yet because there's nothing out there that matches it. So I I think that's an issue in the full frame market. They're not in any hurry there, but I'm hoping we do see an A7000, yes, or an A9000, whatever they want to call it. If it's a mini A9, it might be called the A9000. David says, how is the S-Log3 on the A7 III? There seemed to be a lot of noise on the A7S2. Not sure if it was graded properly though. Look, David, I don't use log at all. I just use the standard profile. I find it's perfect for me. Everyone that sees the videos I produce keeps asking what log I'm using, and that's proof that the standard log profile is more than adequate for most people. Craig from Wedding Film School says he only uses the standard profile as well. It's amazing. I just don't want to go down that track of having to correct. Now, obviously, if you need the full dynamic range, you may have to go for that. If you want, you know, like if you're shooting a bride and it's bright sunshine and then also the groom standing in the dark, you may need that full dynamic range. But I just tend to expose correctly. I'll just tend to expose for the highlights, and then you can always bring the shadows up a little bit. And I've found that the dynamic range is more than enough for what I shoot. And then there's almost no correction done. So everyone keeps asking me, what correction do you do? You know, what log are you using? How much editing are you doing or how much color correction are you doing? Things like that, grading, you know, and I'm hardly doing any, and that's because the Sony profile is so good in the standard profile. And look at the video, look at the ones I've done of Kiara, and you'll know exactly what I mean. I just put an ND on and just correct for the highlights. Make sure you expose correctly and you've got nothing to worry about. Obviously though, like I said, David, if you need the full dynamic range, you're going to use S-Log, but I don't want to do that unless I have to. I did used to do it, but it was a pain correcting it. Yeah, and that's another thing too, David, you're right. The second you go into S-Log, you've got to then use a much higher ISO. I always try and shoot with the lowest ISO possible. On the standard profile, you can shoot with 100 ISO instead of 800. Jason said, bought the A9 used for $3,000 from a camera shop. That's fantastic. Had a few scratches on the back. Jason, that makes no difference at all. I never worry about scratches and things like that. If you're buying something used, I wouldn't give a hoot as long as the camera works and everything's fine. I mean, it doesn't affect the way the camera performs, so I wouldn't worry about it. Michael said, if they make an A9R, I would get it in a heartbeat, 42 megapixel files and all. Yeah, and I can understand that, Michael. I'm not really interested in high megapixel anymore. I'm quite comfortable now shooting with the 24 megapixel size. It's adequate for me, and I really love shooting at that size. They're easy to manage on my computer, and I tend to very rarely ever crop. I know you can say that you can crop these images, but I very rarely tend to crop. I try to get everything as close in camera right at the beginning without, you know, I don't want to edit much, and I also don't want to, I mean, I do retouch obviously to make impact images, but most of my images that I do, I don't have to do much editing at all. And I very rarely have to crop much at all. So 24 megapixels for me is adequate. I still love my A7R II, and I still use it occasionally, but I'm using my A7 III most of the time. Look, I'll definitely get an A7S III when it comes out. Well, I shouldn't say definitely, but I hope I do. I hope they don't let me down with what they put in it. Photomeic said, did a video today, so he'll obviously be posting it. If you haven't subscribed to Photomeic, have a look at his stuff. It's great. He's just reviewing the Nikon Z7 at the moment. He's done quite a number of videos on it, which are great. So, and plus, Photomeic is one of the few people out there that does support other YouTubers. A lot of people won't do that, and he does, which is great. I tend to think that too. I always go onto other YouTubers. Unfortunately, a lot of others don't do that and support the other ones like me and Photomeic out there, which is a bit of a shame. Duncan said, hi David, picked up A7 III with the 85 1.8. 2mm 1.8 and the 2, what's the f2mm? The 85, you've bought the 1.8. After watching your video. Oh, yeah, do you mean this, the 78 to, are you talking about the Tamron there? Oh, no, planning to get the Tamron plus a gimbal and super wide like the Voigtlander. Keep up the great content. Thanks, Duncan. The Sony 85 1.8 is fantastic. And obviously the A7 III with that 85 1.8 is amazing. I would have bought that lens, only I have the Batis. If I didn't have the Batis, I would have bought the 85 1.8. In fact, sometimes I've even thought about buying another 85 1.8 to stick on a second camera, but I'm still so tempted to get that Canon 85 1.2. Yeah, I don't know. I want to try and get one so I can use it and see if I really like that depth of field, just to occasionally put on for a point of difference. JD said, do you feel the GH5 default colors were better than the A7 III? No. There's nothing wrong with the Sony A7 III colors at all. When people talk about Sony color science not being good, it's a load of crap. Mark said, I would come down to cold Melbourne if you're doing a workshop from Brisbane. Well, stay tuned, Mark, because it'll be advertised. You've got me, you're in the photography videography school, aren't you? It will be advertised in there as well, or on my Facebook page as well. That's why I want to do it over summer anyway, so we get a nice warm evening. William said, is the Tamron 28 to 75 a good lens? It's an amazing lens to start out on. I mean, it's on here now. I've got it on there now. Fantastic lens. I've been using it. And the interesting thing is it's changed my wedding shooting, which is quite interesting because, as you know, I was shooting just primes, and I was finding basically that, and I did that due to weight. I didn't want to carry around a 2470 G Master because it's too heavy for what I want to do. But since I've got the Tamron, I've left that on one camera the whole time, and then my second camera, I think this is on the A7 III. Yes, it is. So this is on the A7 III. So on my A9, I'm using obviously the 35 1.4 and also the Batis as well, and even the 70 to 200. I'm using that on there at the same time. So I'm doing that with that other camera. So the Tamron is staying on that for the whole wedding, and then I'm just using that second camera, which is on my belt. That's why this is here. And so they're just on the belt, both cameras, and I can just keep swapping and changing. And so the other camera, I'm changing lenses. But the Tamron is going through the whole wedding now, and it's been amazing. It's just like using a native lens. It's that good. And I love how close you can focus with that lens. It's fantastic. Gerald says, I am your first volunteer when you come to the States. Yeah, that'll be great, Gerald. Joe said, hi, David, only 10 till 2. 10 to 2. Oh, you guys never sleep. Alternatives to Sony 70 to 200 2.8 GM, best the F4. Well, that's what I use. I use the F4 version. And the F4 is ample. I mean, let me just open this up and I'll show you. Let me see if I can open it up. So now these images aren't edited, so you'll see them unedited. So let me see if I can just make this smaller. So I'll go to library. And I need to open up the A9 because it was on the A9. A9. And I'll go to the 70 to 200. And let me just see if I can, oops. Now I need to reduce this down so you can see it. Now you see there it's the A9 and it's the 70 to 200 f4. It's on ISO 500 there. Let me just see if I can bring these down a little bit more, just so you can see the whole thing. I mean, the compression you get out of these is lovely. I'm just starting to edit this now, so you'll get an idea of, you know, that this lens sort of in action, and it's, you know, it's just beautiful. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's really a beautiful lens to use. I was shooting on continuous autofocus. I very rarely ever shoot now in anything other than AFC when I'm shooting. But you know, it's just great. I mean, the lens itself is look, it's not going to beat a GM. I'm just seeing when this takes to load. You know, it's not going to be... But I hate bringing anything up large in here because it always looks crap when I look on YouTube, and that's the thing. I just hate doing it. There's something about the compression when you show anything live. It actually is really quite sharp, but it never shows up when you look online, which is annoying. Yeah, see, it looks fantastic here, and I'll bet you any money when I look up there, yeah, because I'm looking at it now, and it looks awful through there. But, you know, it's great. So these were all shot with the 400 mil. Sorry, the 70 to 200. And I really do like it. Like, it's just a beautiful lens to actually use. The focus is really fast. I love the compression you get out of it. It's very light. And I just love actually doing it. Again, if I click on this, it's probably going to look terrible. But, you know, it is... I'm just waiting for it to build up. It's really sharp. Like I said, I just don't like blowing anything up on here because the compression for some reason looks terrible. But, you know, it's just a great lens, and I'm really happy with how it looks. By the way, check out this because it was really interesting. On the day, if you look, see these little things behind the guys down here? That was these kangaroos. So all of these kangaroos were in the background. And they were just all through there. So it's fantastic. So they're all in the background. That was during the day. So they were there for the whole day, and it was so amazing to be shooting around with kangaroos that were actually out on the background. Again, just using tracking, following them through, you know. The focus is just terrific. But, you know, I'm really happy with it. Like, it's great. So I use this lens all the time because I don't love carrying that weight around. And it works fantastic. Yeah, so I'm really happy with it. So let me go back to here. But don't look at YouTube for how sharp it is, guys, because I get that every time I start to show images blown up. People go, oh, it's not sharp. It's something with the compression on YouTube. Whenever I blow the image up, I'm not sure whether it's this side or it's YouTube's side. It always looks terrible. Trust me, it's sharp. So I'd recommend, I say that the F4 is lovely if you don't want to get the G Master. Look, the 70 to 200 G Master is it's definitely a better lens. I'm not saying it's not a better lens. It is definitely a better lens, but you've got to be prepared to carry around that weight, and I don't want to do that. Hi Panda, how are you? Good to see you in here. Oops. Jason Barry said hello. Charles said right now Sony could release anything with a flippy screen that would sell like crazy. It would, I agree with you. Jason said any recommendations on a somewhat portable softbox for a rectangular LED light? I did some night street photography over the weekend and wedged my LED in my 90cm softbox. I don't know what I can recommend because I don't use any with the LEDs. I'm lucky now because I can use that Profoto B10. That fits directly in all of my softboxes that I'm using for the Profotos. So that's fantastic for when I'm using LED lights with it. You may be better to just have it behind a, you know, your normal reflector that's the see-through reflector, or shoot it using an umbrella. Could be an idea as well. Don't forget, umbrellas are very versatile, and that's something that you could use if you wanted to soften the light. Very few people, for some reason at the moment, seem to use umbrellas, and I think they're the most underrated light modifier out there, and anyone can carry them around. They're dirt cheap. So use a shoot-through umbrella, or use a reflector, but the see-through part, you know, the sort of that white material that just lets you see through it. Panda said, not sure why people be upset about having UPS sensor in A7 body. That will mean more features. Yeah, I think some people like the small size though, Panda. Dave Griffin says, it seems like only vloggers want flippy screens, which I hear, and that's why I want one, David. But remember, you don't have to flip it if you don't want to. And this is what annoys me about when everyone goes, I don't want a floppy screen, but just keep it closed. If you don't want the flippy screen, don't open it. If you want the flippy screen, you can go like that. If you don't want it, keep it closed. It's not a big deal. at least if it's there, then everyone can get the benefit out of it. Charles said flippy screen are awesome for street and astrophotography. The Panda says I use 24mm when I'm shooting men model from below to make them look power. Yeah, the only thing is 24mm is borderline distorting faces. It will distort. If you check Max Euro video when he reviewed the 24mm, he was using the Tamron at the time. And then he went to the 24mm. Check how wide and how distorted his face looks. It will not look good if you want to photograph a female, particularly using that 24, if you get close, particularly. Mark said, just did a test shoot with the Sigma 135 1.8, Canon 85 1.2 on my Insta. Use name and add photo at the end if you're interested. How did you find the 135? Did you like it, Mark? Flyball said, good evening, back from late night out, in and out. Panda said, S-Log is for professional or advanced users. Yeah, they're for full-on videographers. It's certainly not for what I want to be shooting at all. Remember, I'm shooting Fusion, so I'm just shooting things that want to get done quickly. I don't want to be a videographer. So it's just not something that I want to do. But you know what? Even if I was shooting video full-time now, I think I'd be just using the standard profile. It's that good. Most Sony shooters use S-Log 2, S-Log 3. When you're color grading, it's going to fall apart. It needs 10-bit. Yeah, and that's why I hope the Sony A7S 3 has 10-bit. I'm sure it will. Fathom Rocker said, I just want the A7S 3 with flippy screen, 4K 120 10-bit. I love it. Dion said, I sold the Batis 85 for the STF 100. I remember you did that, Dion. Charbox said, I think maybe 24 1.4 would be my choice to get into the Sony A7S. It's going to be a great video lens, Charbox. Yeah, that is going to be a great video lens, and it might be one that I buy down the line for that to stick on a gimbal. Tim said, used it to shoot models in dresses, and there's heavy purple fringing where you can see the details of the beads anymore. Not sure what to do now for my work. What's that, Tim? What was that lens where you saw all the purple fringing? But you should be able to fix that in Lightroom. It's bad, though, if it's really bad purple fringing. Dion said, I think the Sony colours are much better than the Canons, which seem more harsh. Oh, no, I agree, Dion. I don't think the Sony colours are a problem at all, especially the newer cameras like the A7R3, the A9, and the A7 III. And obviously the A7S III are going to be even better. Charbuck said 85mm is too long for video, isn't it? Well, I do use it sometimes, but it is. Yeah, I find 55 is great for video. I love 55 on a gimbal. But yeah, 85 is getting tight. Flyball said, not really. Depends if you're shooting, I suppose, though it might be used for tight shots. Yeah, I tend to use, like I said, 55 if I want to get in tight. The other thing you can do as well is the Tamron's a great video lens, because remember, you do get the 75mm option up there. And 2.8, it's great. Just check out the last video I did on YouTube for the Tamron. Which was it? It was the one, I can't remember. If you go back up a couple of videos, you'll see it's the one, it's the wedding one I did. I just posted it the other day. Have a look at it, and that was shot with the Tamron. Tim said, most of my works involve shooting dresses with heavy detail. I really like the 85 focal length for that, but not sure if picking up the 1.4 will solve the purple fringing. So you're getting purple fringing with the 85 1.8, are you, Tim? J Rose said, can you make a video showing how you use one camera to shoot photos in one hand and one in the other? Yeah, I should show that, but I'll see if I can get one up and show you. Hang on. Where did I put that the other day? Because I did notice it the other day. Let me just have a look. I think it was in here. I found it the other day, and every time I go to find it with you guys, I can't find it. Let me check in here. Is it in there? Oh yeah, Me Fusion. I will do a video about it though. Let me just see if I can open one up and show you. I'm just trying to find a good one that I can open up and show you how it works. Yeah, I'll show you here. So I'll just switch over to this and then you should be able to see it. So you can see here, if I move this up, so you can see I'm holding one camera in the hand there, and I'm holding the gimbal in the other hand through here. And so basically, I mean, I'm often shooting both. Let me see if I can find another one where I am actually shooting both at the same time. Both cameras are on. It's just that I stopped at that second to take an image. Oh, you can see here that I'm actually shooting both. So if I move this down, you can see here that I've got the hand camera there and I'm holding the other camera in the gimbal. That's only possible because I'm using these lighter cameras. If I wasn't doing that, now I've got the A6500 on there at the moment on this time. Often sometimes I'm using the A9, sometimes I'm using the A7 III, but the A6500 are great for doing this because the A6500 is nice and light. And I've got it on the Moser Aircross, obviously, and it works fantastic. But I will do a video about it. I'm actually going to try, if I can, to do one, get someone following me around when I'm doing a wedding, so you can actually see how it's actually done. And the funny thing is, it's quite funny though, J-Ro, because people just look at me and go, what is he doing? And like, no one ever does that. And it's really weird because people look at you like there's something wrong with you, like walking around with these two cameras at the same time. But you think about, if you can learn to do it, you think about what amazing opportunities that opens up to you, that you can shoot video and stills exactly at the same time. The stabilization in the camera lets you do that. Remember, I wouldn't be doing that handheld if that camera was not stabilized, because the stabilization means that even though I'm holding it one-handed, it's still going to be really quite stable. Well, it is stable. And the results are beautiful, but I wouldn't be doing it with something that didn't have, image stabilization built into both cameras, because it could be an issue. But it works fantastic. And, and that has opened up a whole new market for me, which is just so good. Did he grab that boob? Oh, you're talking about the wedding one. Yeah, I think he did actually. The 70-200 f4 is a great travel lens for its weight plus a tack sharp glass. Yeah, unfortunately though, you just don't see it when I show it on YouTube. I hate blowing anything up. People always say blow it up so we can see how sharp it is, and then whenever I do it on the lives, it always looks terrible. Oops. Just making sure I don't miss stuff. For some reason, sometimes it just jumps. What else is there? Oh, some people are going on about politics. I'm not getting involved in any of that. I bet the kangaroo would punch it to a pump. Oh, you guys, honestly. Brett said 70 to 200 f4 is amazing lens, accurate, fast focusing and pin sharp. I'd never sell mine. I wouldn't sell mine either. I love it. Even if I did get a G Master, I'd still keep it. Any thoughts on a new version of the A9? Possibly sometime late next year. I wouldn't think any time before that, though. Hi, Gilbert. How are you? Good to see you in here. Thanks says hello. What else have we got? I think I'm going to get rid of Isaacs because he just keeps coming up with stuff. Let me just get rid of him. All right. Flyball says, let's keep the clean. Oh, okay, he's still going. Hopefully it's all disappeared now. I don't think Sony will release a flippy screen like the one on the Fuji X-T100 or Canon EOS R. It would probably look like the flippy screen of the A90. Yeah, and I think that too. I think the only way we're going to see a flippy screen on Sony's is if they do it this way. I think that's probably going to be the only way we'll actually see it. So I'm hoping that's what we can get. I'd be happy even with that. That doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't have to go out sideways. I'll be still happy if we get that. JQL says, hi there, mate. 135 GM when it gets released, or the 70 to 200 GM for event photography. If you're dealing with event photography, you'd be better with the 70 to 200 than the 135 because you haven't got that full range. If you already had the 70 to 200, then I could say get the 135, but I wouldn't limit yourself to getting that. You do need a 70 to 200. That's why I've got the F4 version. Tox Vision said, I won't buy the A7000 or an A7S III if it doesn't have the 4K 60 or higher. Look, I think it's definitely going to have 4K 60. It has to have. I don't care what else they add. Not even a flippy screen will get me to purchase one. Michael said, I bought it for night work, the 24 1.4. I love shooting at night. Yeah, and that would be great for that, Michael. Tox said, the big deal is that we don't want them releasing a new camera with just a flippy screen and nothing else. That's not going to happen. They'll have to give 4K 60p. That's got to be in the next Sony camera, and also I believe 10-bit. Mark said, the 135 Sigma is a killer lens. Yes, I know it is. It's unbelievably sharp too. Maddie did a compare and said the 105 was not as good as the 135. Interesting. Gerald said, I've pre-ordered the Sony 24mm 1.4. We'll use it carefully. I have the 24 105 and 28 f2 and the 85 1.4 and the 72 200 2.8 to cover my wedding. See, and that's a fantastic lens setup that you've got there, Gerald. EC said, no more Jesus talk. This is about photography. Yeah, well, hopefully I've got rid of that person that was doing all that. I hope. Tim said the 85 1.8 has that purple fringing that Lightroom chromatic aberration correction did not fix. Interesting. Oh, okay. Wow. Unless you've got a funny lens, Tim, or is that all some of the others? I never noticed that when I used that lens. Some others may be able to let me know in here. Mark said people forget the 51.4 Sony, and that's a beautiful lens. I love the 55 though due to the weight, Mark, so I wouldn't buy the 51.4. But it is an amazing lens. Yes, I agree with you. Haas says, hi David, love your new iPhone versus A7 III comparison video. As far as picture profile is concerned, I use the Sign 1 or Sign 2. That's what I used to use. I used to use Sign 2 when I did it as well, because then it had less noise because you didn't have to have the ISO up as high and there was less correction involved. But I'm still using the standard profile. Like I said, check my videos and you'll see that the standard profile is pretty good. Flyball said, yeah, I couldn't do that with the Rowan S and the A. Yeah, that's why I haven't got a larger gimbal, Flyball, because it's too heavy. There's no way I could carry something like the Rowan S. That's the beauty of the Moser Aircross. Have I got it here? Yeah. No, I haven't. Must be, it's in the other room. That's the beauty of the Moser Aircross because it's so light and it can work easily with an A7 III and something like the Tamron or the 55 on there or even the 35 1.4. And I also sometimes use this, the 35 1.2 is great because it's tiny. That's a great gimbal too if you want to use 2.8 as a 35. Beautiful as well. That's Kerry's favourite lens. She loves that. But yeah, there's no way you'd be carrying the Rowan S with another camera like I do, what I showed you before. Wouldn't happen. Laugh out loud, what a beast. You do both at the same time. Yes, I do, Jason. That's right, I do. But it's made my weddings go nuts. Like I said, booked out for 2 years. I would love to see how you do that as well. I want to try and do that. Quibbilly says, I have a similar take. I'm only using the DJI Osmo and the Sony camera in the other hand. Makes me look like Rambo. I did start doing that and I used the DJI Osmo, but I had an issue when I did it in the sun and it overheated. The iPhone actually overheated and stopped recording, so I never used it again. Mark said, where were we? Mark said, David, the octopus need extra hands for more cameras. I know. What's the lowest shutter speed with the Sony IBIS? Well, I handheld sometimes. I've handheld doing waterfalls and stuff like that with models in it. at something like 1 second exposure, and they've come out pretty good. It depends how steady you can hold the shot, but you'd be amazed at how good the IBIS is if you're very steady with your hand holding technique. EC said, my brain freezes when I shoot stills with just one camera. I can't imagine one in each hand. Look, don't ever underestimate how hard it is, though, what I do. And I wouldn't recommend anyone to do it until you get very good at doing both, because it is incredibly challenging. Not only do I do that, but at the same time, I'm also recording with a camera at the back of the church. I've put microphones onto the priest and also the groom. I've put extra mics in other areas, and I'm worrying about this all at the same time. So trust me, it is not an easy job, but I'm now charging up to $2,000 extra per wedding to give that service, and it's working really well for me. But it's taken me a long time to get up to that point where I can do that comfortably. So it's not just the fact of being able to run up and do this at the one time. I've also got all of the other things that I've got to worry about too, that having second angles, recording in case if something goes wrong, things like that. So it's not an easy task, and it's not something that I recommend anyone to just jump into, but it is something you can build yourself up to over a period of time. And like I said, I do plan on filming it one day and showing you guys how I can do it. Favorite macro lens? I use the 35, the Sony one, which is the tiny one. I'll show you. I'll get it out of the studio. Oh, down here. Look, once again, the macro, the 90 macro is a superb lens, but I don't want to be lugging around that much gear, so I'm using this. I'm using the APS-C lens. You're probably not going to be able to see which one it is. It's the 30 macro 3.5, but this is an APS-C lens, so I put this on the A7R2 and I get a 18 megapixel file. And it's perfect for what I shoot. But I'm only shooting things like wedding rings and details and things like that. But I have to be honest with you guys, lately I've just been using the Tamron, and it's been giving me a good enough result. And it really is amazing how well it works. But that's what I'm using, and I find it's fantastic. So I don't need the macro, the 90 macro. If you're going to be shooting things like insects and stuff like that, you need something like the 90 because you need to be far enough away. Raymond Baker saying, good morning, Camera Conspiracies. G'day, mate. I love your stuff. It cracks me up. It's good to see you on here. Rumour has it that the Sony will delay the A7 III release to give Kerry more time to recover. It's all right, Kerry. Yeah, I know. That's funny. I know. Look, poor, you've said Kari, but it's actually Kerry. It's probably my accent, though, that you don't understand. I know she still is recovering from that, and I'm dreading when the A7S III comes out, and I have to also tell her that. If you haven't checked Camera Conspiracy's stuff out, check him out, because his stuff's fantastic. I love it. It really does crack me up. I'm always over there checking his stuff up. But you're right, Kerry is still recovering from the B10. She shakes her head. I just walk in with a new bit of gear and she goes, oh, poor Kerry. Sizzleman said the flippy screen has to go to the side. The viewfinder and the mic and the hot shoe will be in the way for it to flip up. Yeah, but perhaps it could be a full redesign. I'm not sure. What else have we got? Sizzleman's, oh, that's what Charbox said. I cannot believe Canon has an exclusive patent on the side. I still don't believe they have. I know there's patents out there, but if you change something, you can get around it. The Chinese do it all the time. G'day, Manny. How are you? Good to see you in here. The difference between the 105 and the 35 negligible optically. So which one would you go for then? The 105 or the 135? I'd love to know your opinion. Sizzleman says, Sony just needs to develop their own mechanism for the flippy screen. Charbox, I think Camera Conspiracies wants a slide flippy display. He does. If you've watched his video recently about that, you'll know that that's what he's after. Cracks me up. Eleanor says, do you think Sony will release a more affordable APS-C camera with IBIS? I'm not sure. Probably not. I think you're going to have to wait for the A7000. That'll be the next one. JLQ Photography said, would you recommend having 2 Sony bodies for event photography, or is one sufficient? No, you've got to have 2. Always have 2, I think. It's important as well in case if you have an issue. And then immediately you can switch to that second camera. I always have 2 cameras on me when I'm shooting, because if you have a camera failure while you're there, you haven't got the time to go and get another one. If you miss the kiss before because you haven't got a second camera, you're in trouble. So I always carry 2 on me, and I always have a second shooter as well. Remember, I'm always backing up everything I do, and that includes why I use cameras with dual card slots now. But I always have 2 cameras. I wouldn't go in with 1. Gerald said, got the Moser Aircross on your recommendation when you alerted of the sales. It's great and light. Yeah, it's fantastic. That Moser Aircross is a fantastic gimbal, and they pay me nothing. I bought that myself, so it's brilliant. Would you recommend the 55 or the Tamron 28-75? If you haven't got any lens at all, the 28-75. Flyball says, I'm regretting passing on that deal. Yeah, it was a good deal at the time, wasn't it? David said, I thought the A7S III with phase detection AF and better video codecs, it gives me goosebumps, the thought of it. Yeah, I know, well, it's going to happen. I'm dying to see what they offer us. Charbox said, I hope Sony improves IBIS with the A7S III and the A7000, maybe. Well, I'm hoping too, but I've got pretty good at hand-holding it now. It is technique, though. You've got to practice it. I often hand-hold video with the A7 III and the A9, and it's quite good. Flyball Photography says, are those standalone sound recorders, or are they synced somehow? No, they're standalone. I use, I'll see if I can show you the one I've used. I'll just get it. So I'm using these. So it's the actual zoom, I think they're, what are they, the F1. I'm using these. These are a great little unit. I really like how these work. They're as rugged as, and they have a lovely belt clip that you can stick on the back so they can be put on the belts and hidden really easy. I like how the microphone comes out of the top as well. And they have a lock so they won't get turned off. So I love these. But with... the other thing I'm using is, I can't show you at the moment because that camera's not connected. I don't know why. Just let me see if I can add this other camera and I'll show you the other one that I use. Just see if I can get this on. Because I'll show you how this works. I've just got to make it so that it looks decent. Where are we? 1920 by 1080. And let me fit it in. All right, so the other one that I use as well is this. So let me just grab it. And I'll see if I can... I've just got to switch cameras. So I'm using... and things like that. So I'll be recording directly into obviously the DJ's board from that, and even I'll do the speeches when they're doing the ceremony and stuff like that. If they've got a microphone attached to that, that will be connected. Apart from that, this will be on the groom. This will also be on the priest, and then I'll sync them later on. And I use Pluralize. Which is a program that syncs everything back up together, and it works really well. So that's the way that I tend to work with all of those. But those they're really good. I can't remember how much they were. I just bought them for B&H. I think I've got it in my list of what I use. What else? So they're the standalone recorders, and then I sync back later on. Other ones I actually use, sometimes I'll even use the wireless as well. So I'm using the Rode VideoMic Pros. They're wireless, and they will go directly into the camera. Alexandra said, as long as the A7S does away with that horrible skin tones and give us Venice colours. Well, it probably will, Alexandra. I'm sure they'll improve the colour science on that camera. Gerald says, I'm loving my Sigma Art 70. Yeah, that's a great lens too. I forgot about that one, Gerald. It's nice, quite small as well. Much lighter and compact than the 90. Charbuk said, David is already doing 24-hour live streaming. Torben says, why don't you put your APS-C macro lens on the A6500 and get a 24 megapixel image? Well, I could, Torben, I suppose. I haven't been taking them though, because generally they've just been stuck here and I've been using them all the time for video. And I'm trying to minimize the amount of gear that I'm actually taking. And I always take the A7R II, the A9 and the A7 III with me. And I'm trying to minimize now down to one bag. And I struggle to put everything in. So that's the reason why I'm using it on the A7R II. And it works fantastic. But you're right, I could use it on the A6500 and get that done too. But the only thing is too, I find I can manually focus, which I often do when I'm doing doing macro. I find it's easier to focus with the A7 series than it is with the A6500 for manual focus. But that's just a personal thing, Torben. Nikon's P90 has a side flippy screen. Yes, it does. Ollie, morning, just logged on and happy to have caught a live chat. David Brown says, true, David. Had a Godox trigger get stuck on my new A7 III and I had to dig out my old A7 II to save the day. And that's the thing, you've always got to have a backup. What if you drop one? And that's happened to me before. I have dropped one of my cameras. I think I dropped an A7 II, dropped it on the ground. And obviously, I couldn't use it. I had to act like it didn't bother me, but I was horrified. And immediately, I just picked up the second camera and just kept shooting. Said, don't worry about it. It's only a camera. The camera was okay, but the lens broke that I was using at the time. The lens mount. Cameron said, thank you. Duncan said, so if people die in space, do they still go to Earth hell? I'm not sure what that means. Mark said, oh, that's the Zoom H6. Yes, and it's really good. That is a great thing. I bought that a while ago. You can put 4 inputs into that, and it just goes all night. You can plug it onto AC power if you want to. It's a great unit. So I use that for just plugging into the board, and when they're doing the weddings, if you're using a microphone, I'll patch into there as well. Always got to have multiple backups with audio. Audio is more important than the video, and that sounds funny, but the audio is incredibly important. People will put up with bad focus, and they will put up with bad looking images. I shouldn't say really bad, but they will put up with images that don't look fantastic as long as the audio still sounds good. And that's the thing that you've got to understand. The audio is the main thing that you have to learn when you're dealing with this type of work that I do with Fusion. Audio is critical. Need to go now. Thank you. See you next time on YouTube. Yep, I'll be on Friday, Linda. But more around 1 o'clock Melbourne time. Any suggestions for good softbox sizes? Well, I love that the main softbox I use is a 2-foot Octa. That's what I adore to use outside, and it works fantastic for me. It's my favourite modifier. I don't think it's in the house actually, so I can't show you. I've also got a grid that fits over the top of that too, if I want to avoid spill as well. But I love the 2-foot Octa. Ramon says, Tamron 17 to 35 come for Sony. I hope it does. I'd love them to do like a 17 to 35 or a 75 to 200 or whatever it would be, f2.8 lens as well. That is the same type of quality and lightness that the 28 to 75 was. If they can give me a wide angle of this and also a 70 to 200 equivalent, I'd buy them in a heartbeat. Dion says, Sony's colour science can be adjusted in camera. Yes, you're right, it can. But I'm happy with how it looks straight out of camera, Dion. I really am with the new cameras. Joe said, repeat what you said when you switched cams, there was no sound. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm using, sorry about that. I didn't realise. Yeah, I'm using the Zoom H6 to plug into the board. So that's what I was doing when I was talking about that. Yeah, so I can't get the audio on there, I don't think. Dion said Dave McKeon did a video on how to change the color science in camera. Oh, cool. For the H6, did you get adapters from normal mic leads? Yes, I did. I bought everything, Dion. I've also bought, I mean, I've got everything that connects onto that. It comes with a stack of different adapters. It comes with stacks of different plugins that you can put in onto the end of that. You can get Zoom mics. You can get everything that plugs into the end of that. They're really good. I bought every attachment I think that was available to it. You've got to then also buy all the leads that will connect into the main boards and things like that. So I'm covered with everything. Kim said, always a great site. Don't often catch you live in the UK. That's why I occasionally pop on later, Kim. Waiting for the A7000. Always check here for gossip. Have a P1000 and off for wildlife photography class in Devon, UK. That'll be fantastic, Kim. Maybe coming out to the UK next year. Ian says, about the A7S II, I've been using the EOS HD color profile. Yeah, I'd been using, and that is quite good. I also used a Leeming LUT as well. Leeming LUT is really good as well. And that works fantastic if you're dealing with profiles as well. It makes it very easy. Very similar to using that EOS HD. David Brown says a 2-foot softbox is a great size as you can still fit through doors. And that's the thing, I have to have stuff that I can carry around. The 2-foot Octa is fantastic. It's good enough to light up a fair way if you get back far enough. And it's also beautiful and soft if you get close as well. And if you also stick on a grid over the top, it can be directed, which is great too. Remember, it's all about carrying stuff around. In the studio behind me, I've got a 5-foot Octa. That's massive. But, you know, when I'm going out, I don't want to be lugging that sort of stuff around. I also have a massive umbrella as well. I'm going to show you this umbrella because you're going to love it. Stay there. So this is my Profoto umbrella. Now I can take this with me if I want to use something that's nice outdoors. Don't underestimate umbrellas, guys, but let me just see if I can open this up and you'll see. This thing is massive. Now you also get a softbox attachment that fits over this, so you can actually use this as a normal reflector as well and point your light going back that way, and then it comes out because it fits over the top of these. And clips on, so you can put that on as well. So it's like a softbox, or you can use this as beautiful hard light. And I love this reflector. I use this a lot. And this one is just the, I mean, you could buy this if you wanted to buy this for your normal Godox cameras, because it doesn't have to be Profoto. It's just a standard umbrella, but it's just amazingly made. And this one is the Umbrella Silver XL. That's fantastic as well, and it really is a great umbrella. So that's one, if you do want to lug something around that's big, you can use that. You know, it's fantastic. Mark says there is also, oops, I'm just going to bring this back. Mark said there is also a H5 which is lighter and easier to carry. Yes, there is. I've got the H6 version. EC's good night. Yeah, I'm going in a minute. I've got to go and get dinner. Ollie said, I was cursing my Godox flashes the other night. I was hand-holding the 685 flash. It didn't fire a whole bunch of times no matter how I positioned my hand Profoto time. Well, I can tell you, Ollie, that I've never ever had a Profoto flash misfire, ever. That's one thing about the Profotos that I can tell you. They are incredibly reliable and also over an amazing distance as well. They will fire every single time. Mark says, in Queensland we use umbrellas as parachutes on the beaches. All right, guys, I better go because it's my dinner time here. Any questions, leave down below. And obviously I'll be back on Friday for the live. I may post a video tomorrow, I'm not sure, but I will be back on Friday for the live there. Please give me a big thumbs up if you can. I'd really appreciate that. It just means other people will watch it. and I'll see you all for the next video. So it's been a pleasure talking to you all, guys, and I'll see you all soon again. Catch ya. Have a great evening and morning or day, whatever you're up to. See ya.